Picture this. You wake up not just to another day, but to a world full of opportunities. Imagine the feeling of waking up energized, focused, and ready to conquer the challenges ahead. Now, how often does that actually happen for you? What if the way you wake up could change everything? What if instead of dragging yourself out of bed, you greeted the morning with clarity and purpose? How would your life shift if you could master your mornings and ultimately your destiny? Let's be honest, mornings can feel like a battlefield. The snooze button calls, your bed feels like a second home, and getting up is the last thing you want to do. But what if those early hours are actually the key to unlocking your potential? Imagine waking up each morning, not with the usual grogginess or dread, but with a sense of clarity and anticipation. Picture feeling truly energized, knowing that today isn't just another day in the grind, but an opportunity to move forward, to grow and to take control of your life. What would that feel like? For many, this might seem like a distant dream, right? Let's be real for a moment. How often do you actually get out of bed feeling this way? If you're like most people, the reality looks a little different. You might be pulling yourself out of bed, groggy and barely awake, stuck in a cycle of habits that no longer serve you, or feeling lost in the constant rush of life. The truth is, the way you start your morning doesn't just set the tone for those first few minutes. It has the power to shape the entire day, your mindset, and ultimately your life. The Stoics knew this better than anyone. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, once said, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to think, to enjoy, to love." These words aren't just motivational fluff. They're a powerful reminder that the way we approach the beginning of our day can change everything. Today, we're diving deep into how you can practically apply this ancient wisdom every morning, creating habits that help you take control of your day, master your mind, and ultimately shape your life. And if this resonates with you, if you're ready to take back your mornings and your life, here's a simple favor I'll ask. Hit that subscribe button. It genuinely helps us reach more people who need to hear this message right now. Let's face it, most of us have a complicated relationship with mornings. I get it. Your bed feels like a warm hug, and the snooze button becomes your best friend, whispering sweet promises of just 5 more minutes. But here's the thing. What if I told you that early mornings are actually a game changer? I'm not just saying that to sound motivational. This is the truth. The quiet hours before the day's chaos begins, before emails flood in, before texts and notifications start buzzing, those moments are your golden ticket to clarity. Imagine waking up just 1 hour earlier than usual. Yes, just 1 hour. It might feel like a small change, or even a painful one at first. But that hour becomes your peaceful sanctuary in the hectic desert of daily life. No distractions, no demands, just you and your thoughts. Think of it as your personal oasis. In that hour, you have the time to set your intentions for the day, plan your priorities, or maybe even dive into a book that anchors you in wisdom. This is where your day's foundation is built, and the Stoics understood this better than anyone. Seneca once said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." This quote reminds us that the fear of waking up early, the dread of how difficult it will be, is often worse than the reality of it. It's not the waking up that's painful. It's the stories we tell ourselves about how tired we'll be, how miserable our mornings will feel. By rising earlier, you begin to break that illusion. You prove to yourself that it's not as hard as you think. You take back control one morning at a time. Continuing from the previous part, you've started to understand that waking up early isn't just a decision, it's an opportunity to take control of your day and your life. Let's continue exploring how small habits, like drinking water instead of coffee right after waking up, can change your entire day. One of the beautiful principles that Stoicism teaches us is discipline is freedom. And yes, it's going to feel uncomfortable at first, but growth never comes from the comfort zone. Just like Carl Jung, the brilliant psychologist, once said, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens." That extra hour in the morning is exactly when you can look inward, awakening not just your body, but your deeper self, your authentic vision and your true purpose. It's when insights arise, problems unravel, and clarity emerges. But when your alarm goes off, what's the first thing you reach for? Let's be honest, most of us bolt straight for the coffee machine, eager for that caffeinated comfort, that familiar jolt we convince ourselves we need just to feel human again. And hey, I'm not saying coffee is evil, trust me, I get it. But here's a simple truth we often overlook in our groggy desperation for that first espresso. Your body wakes up dehydrated. Literally, overnight, your brain and body have gone without hydration for hours. So water, not caffeine, is what you genuinely need first thing. Instead of immediately flooding your system with caffeine, start your day with a tall, refreshing glass of water. Think of it as hitting the reset button on your system. A simple yet powerful ritual that sets the tone for clarity and balance throughout your day. Stoic philosophers often emphasize the importance of mastering small, everyday actions as keys to a greater life. Epictetus, one of Stoicism's sharpest minds, reminds us progress is not achieved by luck or accident, but by working on yourself daily. Drinking water first thing is exactly that, an act of daily discipline. A subtle signal to your mind and body that you're prioritizing well-being over habit. Your brain, fascinatingly, is mostly composed of water. When dehydrated, it struggles to function optimally. Attention, memory, and mood all suffer. Starting your day by replenishing those essential fluids is like giving your mind a gentle yet decisive wake-up call, preparing you to tackle whatever lies ahead with clearer thinking and steadier emotions. Carl Jung once remarked, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." This simple morning habit, drinking water before coffee, is a prime example of turning an unconscious automatic reaction, the sleepy stumble toward the coffee pot, into a conscious, liberating choice. It's about reclaiming control over your impulses, choosing wellness and clarity first, rather than habitually reaching for instant gratification. Your morning is sacred ground. It's a blank canvas, a fresh start, an open field of possibilities. And yet, most of us sabotage it instantly by grabbing our phones and plunging into the chaos of notifications. That immediate rush of digital input floods your mind with anxiety, distractions, and stress, hijacking your day before it even has a chance to begin. Think about it. One moment you're lying comfortably, enjoying the last remnants of restful peace, and the next, you're tangled up in emails, breaking news alerts, and Instagram stories from people you barely remember meeting. Why hand over control like that? Continuing from the previous section, where we discussed how a simple choice like avoiding your phone can reshape your day, let's dive deeper into how our small, intentional actions in the morning can pave the way for a more focused, meaningful life. How often do we surrender our precious morning clarity to random updates and algorithms? Stoicism teaches us to fiercely guard our inner peace. Marcus Aurelius famously advised, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This wisdom is more relevant today than ever. Your phone is the gateway through which countless outside events invade your mental sanctuary every morning. By delaying that scroll even just 30 minutes, you reclaim the power to choose your thoughts, instead of reacting to whatever the digital world throws at you. Carl Jung also warned us clearly, we are not what happened to us. We are what we choose to become. Each morning you face a crucial choice. Will you become someone driven by external pressures and distractions, or will you deliberately shape your day around intention and self-awareness? Skipping that morning scroll doesn't just protect your mental state. It cultivates a stronger sense of self. You start the day knowing exactly who's in charge, you, not your feed. Think about how different your morning feels when you trade the screen for a moment of silence or reflection. Perhaps you journal, read a meaningful passage, or simply breathe deeply, gathering your thoughts. You might even rediscover forgotten pleasures, like savoring the quiet or noticing the early sunlight. When you choose presence over endless scrolling, the day unfolds from clarity, not chaos. There's something oddly powerful about starting your day with a small act of order, not a big breakthrough or a major win, just something simple, something within reach. You wake up, pull the covers tight, fluff the pillows, straighten the sheets, and boom, you've already done something intentional, something complete. You've started the day with structure instead of chaos. That's not just homemaking, it's mental training. We live in a world that glorifies massive transformations and overlooks the value of tiny, consistent habits. But the Stoics knew better. They understood that greatness isn't found in grand gestures. It's forged in daily discipline, cleanliness, order, focus. Marcus Aurelius said, "Don't waste the rest of your life worrying about what other people think of you. It keeps you from doing anything useful." Isn't that what a messy room reflects sometimes? A mind that's distracted, pulled in 10 directions, worried more about the world outside than the world within. Making your bed might sound trivial, but it's the first signal you send to your brain. I'm in control today. You don't need motivation, you've got momentum. This one small act becomes your first promise kept, and promises kept build trust with yourself. It's a kind of self-respect that isn't loud, but runs deep. Admiral William McRaven put it bluntly, if you want to change the world, start by making your bed. This is the power of small intentional actions, the Stoic principle that by focusing on what's within our control, we create the structure and clarity needed to handle life's bigger challenges. Continuing from the previous section, where we discussed the importance of starting the day with intentional actions, let's dive deeper into the power of beginning your day with simple yet impactful rituals. If you want to change the world, start by making your bed. Not because your bed alone will revolutionize your life, but because it sets a tone. If you can't get the small things right, how can you expect to manage the big ones? If you build the discipline to execute something so small every day without fail, you might ask yourself, what else am I capable of? The ripple effect is real. Psychologically, it's even deeper. Carl Jung believed in the symbolic power of the environment. He wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will. Direct your life and you will call it fate." And do you think a cluttered space is just a simple mess? No, it also reflects inner noise, unprocessed thoughts, unresolved emotions. When you tidy up your surroundings, you'll often notice that your thoughts become tidier too. Making your bed is not just about aesthetics. It's about psychological alignment. This is how the Stoics lived, not with perfection, but with purpose. They started each day by asserting control over their time, their space, and their mindset. Making your bed every morning is a way to begin your day on your terms, a declaration. I will not be ruled by disorder. You won't let your environment set the tone for your mind. You choose discipline even in the smallest things. Some mornings, your body might feel like it's dragging your soul behind it. Heavy limbs, foggy, head zero motivation. But the problem isn't that you're lazy or broken. It's that your system is still asleep. Your mind might have opened its eyes, but your body hasn't caught up yet. And until both are in sync, you're operating on low power. So, how do you fix this? The answer is move. You don't need to crush a workout or sweat through your shirt before breakfast. This isn't about chasing six-packs or fitness PRs. It's about one simple thing: activating your life force. Movement, gentle and deliberate, even slow, is your body's way of saying, I'm here, I'm ready, let's go. A few stretches, a walk around the block, squats or yoga poses, that's it. Just enough to wake up the nervous system, get the blood flowing, and remind your brain that you're not a machine, you're alive. The Stoics valued physical strength not for vanity, but for vitality. Epictetus once said, "No great thing is created suddenly," and this is true for your energy, your discipline, your sense of control. It builds slowly, habitually, day by day. Moving in the morning is not a workout. It's a ritual, a quiet act of self-respect that echoes through your mood, your focus, and even your relationships. There's psychology behind this too. Carl Jung believed in the deep link between the body and mind, between the unconscious and how it speaks through our flesh. He said, the body is merely the visibility of the soul, the psyche. If you're stiff, locked up, or physically dormant, what's your psyche saying? That it's stuck, repressed, tired? Start moving your body, and your mind will often follow, not the other way around. And there's something else, the emotional reset that comes with motion. Feeling anxious? Move. Feeling stuck? Move. Feeling sad, unmotivated, or uninspired? Move. Motion disrupts stagnation. You don't have to be elegant or choreographed. You just have to start. Because once momentum kicks in, it creates a domino effect. Energy rises, clarity emerges, continuing from the previous section where we discussed the importance of action and discipline. Let's explore how deliberately facing discomfort can lead to profound change in your life. Seneca reminded us that it's not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. And let's be honest, how many mornings are wasted by scrolling in bed, lying still, waiting to feel like it? Don't wait. Don't negotiate with yourself. Just move. Do it before your excuses catch up with you. There's a moment, right, before you step into a cold shower when your brain screams, nope, not today. It's in that exact moment, when every part of you wants to retreat, that the transformation begins. That hesitation, that resistance, that's your comfort zone digging in its heels, refusing to let go. But if you push through, suddenly you're not just going through the motions, you're steering your day with intention. Have you ever been chasing mental strength, emotional clarity, or even just a sharper start to your morning? Well, here's your entry point: cold water. No filters, no fluff, just you, your breath, and your will. Now, let's address the obvious. Yes, it sucks at first. It's not supposed to feel good, but that's the point. The Stoics were obsessed with voluntarily facing discomfort, not because they enjoyed suffering, but because they knew something most of us forget. Comfort breeds. Weakness, Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live." In a world built on avoiding discomfort, stepping into a cold shower is a radical declaration. You're choosing to live with intention, courage, and grit. Psychologically, cold exposure jolts you into the present. The shock to your system pulls you out of mental fog and forces you to breathe deeply, focus, and override your instincts to flee. This is neuroplasticity in action, your brain rewiring itself to handle discomfort with less panic and more poise. Carl Jung once said, "What you resist persists," and that resistance to cold. It's symbolic of every other discomfort you avoid. Fear of failure, fear of criticism, fear of uncertainty. Face the water, and you begin learning to face the rest of life's challenges. It also builds what the Stoics called fortitude, mental resilience. Seneca believed in training the body and mind for adversity. He fasted, wore rough clothes, and did hard things, not for the struggle itself, but for the strength it gave him. Cold showers are a modern version of that, a daily practice of resistance, training for your nervous system. You step in, breathe through the shock, and in doing so, you prove to yourself that you can endure discomfort without flinching. That kind of confidence doesn't stay in the bathroom. It follows you into work, into relationships, and into life. And then, of course, there are the physiological benefits. Cold showers increase blood flow, release endorphins, and spike your alertness. You don't need coffee to feel awake. You need courage. That icy rush clears out the mental cobwebs and drops you straight into the moment, alert, energized, present. But here's the thing. You don't have to start with connecting with the previous part, where we discussed confronting discomfort. One of the most powerful ways to clear your mind before starting a day is journaling. There's something real that most of us carry every day. A constant stream of worries, to-do lists, memories, judgments, and ideas, all swirling in a chaotic loop. And if left unchecked, that loop becomes a trap. It steals your focus, poisons your mood, and clouds your decisions even before your day begins. That's why journaling isn't just some trendy art form, it's mental hygiene. Just a few minutes with a pen and paper can do more for your clarity than hours of overthinking ever will. The act is simple. Sit down and write. No rules, no grammar police, just a raw, honest release of whatever's weighing on your chest or cluttering your mind. It could be a lingering worry from yesterday, a vivid dream, a flash of gratitude, or a sharp moment of self-reflection. Let it pour out. Don't filter, don't edit. This isn't about writing something beautiful. It's about emptying the mental junk drawer before the day fills it up again. The Stoics practiced this centuries ago. They wrote letters to themselves, reflections, reminders, warnings. Marcus Aurelius kept a journal, which we now know as Meditations. This journal was never meant to be published, never written for others, just private, personal notes to keep his principles sharp and his ego in check. In one passage he says, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." That line may never have existed if he hadn't written it down, if he hadn't processed his challenges with ink and insight. Journaling didn't just help him reflect. It helped him govern an empire with composure. Modern psychology backs this up too. Carl Jung believed the unconscious mind constantly tries to communicate with us, often through symbols, moods, and dreams. He wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." And what better way to bring the unconscious to light than by writing it down? When you journal, you give your inner world a voice. You uncover patterns you didn't know existed, repeating frustrations, buried fears, old stories you've been living. Without questioning, Journaling is like having a quiet conversation with the part of you that rarely gets to speak. The part that isn't performing or pleasing anyone, the part that tells the truth. And in that honesty, something shifts. You start seeing your situation more clearly. Decisions feel less overwhelming. You begin to notice what actually matters and what's just noise. Even on your worst days, your journal is a safe space. You can be angry, anxious, or lost, and still it listens. Still it holds you. And on your best days, it becomes a vault of insights and victories that you'll forget unless they're captured in your own words. Seneca wrote, "We should every night call ourselves to account." He believed that self-examination was the root of wisdom. Morning journaling is that same principle in action, except you're not just reviewing the past, you're preparing your mind for the day ahead. There's a strange kind of anxiety that comes not from doing too much, but from not knowing what to do at all. You wake up, maybe you even feel motivated, but by the time noon hits, you're aimlessly jumping between tasks, chasing distractions, and ending the day exhausted with nothing real to show for it. That's not laziness, that's lack of direction. And when you don't give your day a target, you easily get swept up in that cycle of aimlessness. Journaling is not just a habit. It's an art of living with intention, helping you regain clarity and control right from the start of your day. Picking up from where we left off, we've already discussed the power of journaling to clear your mind. Now let's dive into how to direct your energy with clarity and intention from the moment you wake up. We often give our energy away to anything loud enough to grab our attention. That's where goal setting comes in, not in the lofty, abstract vision board kind of way, but through setting clear, immediate goals. I'm talking about goals you can act on today, not next week, not next month, just 3 small tasks. 3 concrete, achievable tasks that actually move the needle forward, that create progress, not just motion. Because let's face it, being busy doesn't mean you're being productive. And unless you define what success looks like today, you'll spend your time reacting to everything around you instead of leading your own life. The Stoics were deeply intentional with their time. They didn't wander through the day, waiting for some magical clarity to appear. Epictetus put it bluntly, "First say to yourself what you would be and then do what you have to do." Translation: know where you're going or someone else will take you somewhere else entirely. Even psychology backs this up. Carl Jung emphasized the importance of individuation, essentially becoming a whole, directed person. He believed that goals aren't just tools for achievement, but for self-realization. Your vision will only become clear when you can look into your own heart. As Jung said, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens." When you define your goals with honesty and intention, you're not just planning your day, you're shaping your identity. And here's the thing, goals don't need to be massive. In fact, smaller is better. Responding to that email you've been avoiding, writing just 1 page, walking for 20 minutes, simple, actionable goals. When you keep your goals small and achievable, you give yourself permission to finish something. And that creates momentum. Accomplishment isn't about the size of the task, it's about completion. Because one finished task builds confidence, whereas 10 half-done ones only build frustration. Most people don't realize just how fragile their mental state is in the morning. You wake up, and within seconds your brain starts scanning for input, something to react to, something to attach to. And what do most of us give it? Doom scrolling, outrage, clickbait headlines that spike cortisol before you've even had breakfast. The worst part? You barely notice it's happening. You think you're catching up on the world, but what you're really doing is feeding your mind junk and expecting it to carry you through a meaningful day. Here's the truth. Your mind is hungry the moment you wake up. It craves direction, purpose, and clarity. And just like your body performs better when you fuel it with clean food, your thoughts perform better when you fuel them with clean content. If you feed your mind noise, you get confusion. But if you feed it substance, you get strength. The Stoics knew this long before smartphones existed. They believed the first thoughts of your day should be chosen, not inherited from the world. Seneca wrote, "Associate with people who are likely to improve you." In modern terms, that includes the content you consume. Books, essays, philosophy, podcasts. These are your morning mentors. 10 pages of something that elevates you, grounds you, or even challenges your assumptions will do more for your growth than hours of passive scrolling ever could. And it's not about becoming some rigid intellectual. It's about being intentional. You're choosing what kind of thoughts will shape your day, your decisions, and your life. When you start your day with purposeful focus, you set the tone for everything that follows. And it all begins with choosing the right thoughts. Continuing from where we left off, where you began adjusting your thoughts, let's explore how you can lead your emotions and values in every conversation and decision in life. What emotions do you want leading your conversations? What values do you want guiding your life? Whether you realize it or not, you're being shaped every day, little by what you consume. Carl Jung said, "You are what you do, not what you say you will do." And reading, taking care of your mind intentionally is an action. It's not wishful thinking. It's real action, an investment in yourself. Even Marcus Aurelius started each day not with political strategy or tense meetings, but with inner reflection, grounded in philosophy. Why? Because he understood that before he could lead others, he needed to lead himself. And leading yourself begins with the ideas you choose to absorb. This doesn't need to be a massive lifestyle change. You don't have to read an entire book before sunrise. Start small, 10 minutes each morning, a few pages, or a podcast episode that shares something truly valuable. Think of it as tuning your instrument before stepping onto the stage. You're aligning your thoughts with what matters most before life begins demanding things from you. Some people wake up and unintentionally jump into the day, half asleep, already reacting to whatever life throws at them. But others, the ones who seem calm, clear, and centered, start differently. They take a few quiet moments to see the day before they live it. Not on a screen, not in a planner, but in the theater of their own mind. They close their eyes and picture who they want to be, how they want to move, how they want to respond. Not perfectly, but with purpose, and that makes all the difference. Visualization may sound abstract or even a bit woo-woo to some, but it's one of the most grounded, science-backed practices for shaping real results. When you imagine yourself succeeding, actually see it in detail, your brain begins to create neurological pathways necessary to turn that vision into reality. You're priming your mind to expect success, to notice opportunities, and to filter out distractions. It's not magic, it's biology. And when done consistently, it can help rewire your mindset to act in alignment with your goals rather than your fears. Stoicism understood this long before neuroscience caught up. The Stoics practiced a form of mental rehearsal called premeditatio malorum, a deep reflection on what could go wrong, not to catastrophize but to prepare. But they also believed in contemplating who they wished to become. Epictetus said, "Practice yourself for heaven's sake in little things, and then proceed to greater things." Visualization is that practice. You're rehearsing strength, courage, clarity before the test arrives. You're training your inner world so that your outer world doesn't shake you so easily. Athletes like Michael Phelps used visualization daily, not once in a while, not just before a big event, but every day. He would mentally rehearse his swim down to the tiniest movement, so when the moment came, his body knew exactly what to do, because his mind had already been there. That's what makes this practice so powerful. You're not just thinking positively, you're mentally rehearsing success. You're building familiarity with the version of yourself who already knows how to win. And this isn't just for athletes. This is for you, before that important meeting, before that difficult conversation. Visualize yourself succeeding, achieving your goals, and let that be the starting point of a day full of determination. Visualization is not just a warm-up. It's mental preparation, getting you ready to face all the challenges ahead. Continuing from the idea of visualizing success, let's now shift to another powerful practice that helps ground us amid the chaos: gratitude. Before you dive into that personal goal that keeps slipping through your fingers, take 5 quiet minutes. See the outcome you want, not just as an image, but as a feeling. Don't just picture yourself doing the task. Picture how you stand, how you breathe, how you handle setbacks. Make it visceral, make it believable. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, reminded himself daily of how he wanted to act and respond, not react. He didn't leave that to chance. He visualized self-mastery before the pressure even arrived. And if it was good enough for the most powerful man in the Roman Empire, perhaps it's good enough for the rest of us too. It's so easy to forget just how much you already have when your attention is constantly being pulled toward what's missing. We live in a world that pushes us to chase more success, more recognition, more goals. In that endless chase, we often lose sight of what's already right in front of us. Gratitude isn't some soft, feel-good concept. It's a discipline, a mental practice, a way of anchoring yourself in reality when everything around you feels like it's spinning out of control. Here's the truth. Your brain is wired to focus on problems. It's a survival instinct. If you don't take control of that focus, it will naturally drift toward what's wrong, what's lacking, what could go wrong. But when you pause, even for just a minute, and bring your awareness to what's good, what's working, what's still here, that's when everything starts to shift. Your mindset changes, your stress settles, and your perspective expands. The Stoics knew this long, before modern science caught up. Seneca wrote, "Nothing is more honorable than a grateful heart." To him, gratitude wasn't decorative, it was armor, a tool to stay resilient and grounded in a chaotic world. When you choose to be grateful, especially in the face of uncertainty or pressure, you're reclaiming your mental sovereignty. You're proving that you don't need perfect conditions to find something worth appreciating. Carl Jung, looking at this from a psychological lens, believed that much of our suffering stems from disconnection from meaning, from self, and from the present moment. Gratitude acts as a bridge. It reconnects you to the parts of life that matter most. As Jung said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And that process often begins not with some huge breakthrough, but with the quiet realization of how much is already within you and around you. Neuroscience supports what the Stoics and philosophers knew instinctively. Practicing gratitude increases dopamine and serotonin, chemicals that enhance mood and focus. It also lowers cortisol, reducing stress and anxiety. Gratitude isn't just emotional, it's biological. It primes your brain to look for what's right instead of scanning endlessly for what's wrong. Even Marcus Aurelius, in the midst of governing an empire and facing personal hardship, took time for reflection. He reminded himself daily to focus on what was good, useful, and true, not because life was easy, but because clarity was essential. He wrote, "Do not indulge in dreams of having what you have not, but reckon up the chief of the blessings you do possess." That mindset didn't weaken him. It made him steady and capable. By taking a moment each day to focus on what you have, what's working, and what's good, you align yourself with clarity, strength, and resilience. Gratitude isn't just a fleeting emotion. It's a steady practice. That shapes how you respond to life's challenges. Continuing from the idea of grounding yourself with profound thoughts in the morning, let's now explore another way to start your day with greater clarity and resolve: self-control and reflection. Most people wake up and dive straight into their to-do list, trying to outrun stress before it catches up. But what if, instead of rushing into the day, you ground yourself first? Not with a task, but with a thought. And not just any thought, but one that has been honed through centuries of hardship, clarity, and lived human experience. Stoic wisdom isn't ancient just for tradition's sake. It's timeless because it works. The beauty of Stoic philosophy lies in its simplicity. It doesn't ask you to escape life's chaos, but to meet it head-on with clarity, discipline, and strength. Just one sentence, one line from Marcus Aurelius or Epictetus, held in your mind like a compass, can keep you steady when the world starts spinning. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Let that sink in. The thoughts you carry with you aren't just background noise. They shape you, define who you are becoming. Reflecting on Stoic wisdom each morning helps you deliberately choose those thoughts. You're not merely reacting to life, you're preparing for it. It's like putting on emotional armor as you begin your day. When you start the day by reflecting on a single Stoic idea, you're setting your psychological tone. You decide in advance how you will respond to setbacks, interruptions, criticism, or uncertainty. Instead of flinching, you move with intention. Instead of spinning in circles, you return to center. This is what Epictetus meant when he said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Psychologically, this kind of reflection has deep roots. Carl Jung emphasized the importance of examining our inner landscape daily. He believed that if we fail to reflect consciously, our unconscious mind ends up directing our behavior without us realizing it. He once said, "Your visions will become clear only when you can look into your own heart." Those who look outside dream, but those who look within awaken. Morning reflection, therefore, isn't just philosophical, it's a psychological self-defense. You don't need a full journal entry or a meditation cushion. Just pick a quote, one sentence that speaks to you. Read it, sit with it, and ask yourself what it truly means. Not in some abstract way, but in your real life. How does this apply to that meeting you're nervous about? To the relationship you're navigating? To the challenge you've been avoiding? Stoicism isn't meant to stay in books. It's meant to live in your decisions. The more often you do this, the more grounded you become. You start to notice when your mind wants to spiral into drama, when your ego wants to lash out, when your fears want to run the show. And in those moments you remember the line you started your day with. That simple sentence becomes a quiet force, guiding you back to yourself. There is a kind of exhaustion that has nothing to do with sleep. It's the weight that builds up when your life is lived entirely indoors, beneath fluorescent lights, behind screens, under pressure. It's when your mind is overstimulated, but your body is underwhelmed. You're constantly plugged in, constantly reacting, and slowly almost without noticing, you become disconnected from the world, from your body, from yourself. Continuing, from the idea of reconnecting with nature, let's explore how the Stoics' approach to life can also teach us about taking care of ourselves in a very practical way. Sometimes the simplest solution isn't more productivity or more stimulation. It's stepping outside. It sounds almost too basic to matter, doesn't it? But spending just a few minutes outside, breathing in real air, feeling the ground beneath your feet, letting sunlight or even rain touch your skin, can shift your entire mental state. And it's not just about escaping a room, it's about reconnecting with something ancient, something essential. Before we had cities, algorithms, and calendars, we had seasons, we had wind and bird songs and soil. We're still wired for that world, even if we don't live in it anymore. The Stoics, for all their intellect, never saw themselves as separate from nature. In fact, their entire philosophy was based on aligning with it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Adapt yourself to the life you have been given and truly love the people with whom destiny has surrounded you." That includes the world around you. Nature wasn't just a backdrop for the Stoics. It was a teacher, a reminder that everything changes, everything flows, and everything is connected. Carl Jung took a similar view, though through a psychological lens. He believed that modern man suffered not just from trauma, but from a deep disconnection with the natural world. He said, "Natural life is the nourishing soil of the soul." When we lose contact with that soil, literally and metaphorically, we begin to feel ungrounded, anxious, and restless. It's no coincidence that a short walk in the woods can calm you more than hours of overthinking ever could. And no, you don't need to go on a weekend retreat in the mountains. Start small. Step outside for 5 minutes in the morning, feel the cold of the air or the warmth of the sun. Notice the sky, the trees, the birds, the stillness. It's not about turning it into another task. It's about letting nature remind you of what still exists outside the curated chaos of your schedule. The Greek philosopher Heraclitus once said, "Nature loves to hide." But it's not hiding from you. It's always there, waiting, offering stillness, perspective, beauty, and healing. The more time you spend in it, the less reactive you become, the less urgency everything seems to carry, and the more human you start to feel again. There's a reason your mornings feel foggy, slow, or scattered. And it's not just a lack of coffee or motivation. Often, it's because you're trying to run a high-performance machine on fumes. We talk a lot about mindset, productivity, and discipline, but we forget that your brain is a physical organ. It doesn't run on thoughts alone. It runs on fuel, and the quality of that fuel matters more than we like to admit. Too often, breakfast gets sacrificed at the altar of speed. You're running late, so you skip it entirely, or grab something processed, something sugary, quick and empty. Sure, that might give you a jolt of energy for a while, but then comes the crash, the fog, the irritability, and your day begins to unravel. Not because you're weak, not because you lack discipline, but because your body was never given what it needed to show up fully. The Stoics would call this a form of self-neglect. Epictetus reminded us, "No man is free who is not master of himself." That mastery doesn't just apply to your mind, but to your body too.